Hey everyone, so in today's video we're going to talk about interest and particularly compound interest. So we aren't talking about something that's interesting, although it might be interesting to some of you. When we say interest, what we're talking about is if you invest money, the amount of money you get back on that. So for example, if you invested 10,000 euros for a year and perhaps the interest rate would be 5% per annum. Per annum just means per year. So it's 5% per annum. Then we can have a look here at how much interest you have after 1 year. So what we do is we get 5% for 10,000 euros. So 10,000 euros multiplied by 5 over 100. This will give 500 euros. So we could say that this is the interest. This means the total amount of money you get back would be your 10,000 euro plus the 500 euro of interest you're after earning. And that gives you a total of 10,500 euros. This is something we call the final value. Now this is a more normal interest calculation, but obviously we have the word compound up here at the start. So what compound interest is when you invest money for a few years, what would happen is you get your 10,000 euro, the first year you'd earn 500 euro, so then you'd have 10,500 euro in your account. Then the next year you'd be earning 5% of 10,500 euros. And you'd be adding that on. But because that can take a bit of time, especially you have to do it for 10 or 15 years, we actually have a formula that we use to simplify the process for anything over 1 year. So our interest rate is F is equal to P times 1 plus I all to the power of T. So F stands for the final value of the money. So that might be the final amount of money you make in an investment or the final amount of money you get to take out. It could also be the final amount that you owe if we're talking about compound interest on a loan. P is the principal, which is the amount investor borrowed in the first place. I is the interest rate. We got to be really careful to put this as a decimal and not just put in the interest rate as a percentage. That is the biggest mistake people make with these questions. And then T is the amount of time that the money is borrowed or invested for. So we can look at an example now of 500 euro that's invested for 3 years at a rate of 2% per annum. What we're going to do is figure out the total amount of money that this person will be able to withdraw at the end of their investment. So the first thing we'll do is write out the formula. This formula can be found in the log table, so you don't need to learn it off. So we have F is equal to P times 1 plus I all to the power of T. Now we start filling this in. So we don't know the final value, so we'll leave that as F. P, the principal that's invested, is 500 euro. That's how much money we start off with. 1 stays the same. I, the interest rate, we have to put as a decimal. Remember we said that the biggest mistake you can make is, or the most common, is not putting the interest in as a decimal. So we put in 0.02 instead of just writing in 2 here. And then our T time is going to be 3. So now we've got this solved or subbed in. What we're going to do is solve it out using BIDMAS. So BIDMAS says to use our brackets first. So we'll do what's inside in the brackets, and that gives us 1.02. BIDMAS says then that we should do our indices next. So 1.02 to the power of 3 is what we're going to do next. Everything else stays the same. So this is actually a longer decimal, but I've just rounded it to 3 places because you don't need to write out really long decimals in full. Usually having 3 or 4 places is more than enough. Then the last thing we'll do is multiply here. 500 times 1.061. This gives us 530.5. Now, because we know we're dealing with money, we're going to write it as a euro amount. So we'll have a euro sign, and we'll say 530.50. And we use 2 decimal places because it's 50 cents at the end there. So that's our final value. Now at this point, if they just want you to figure out how much money that person is going to have at the end, or how much they're going to owe at the end, that's all you have to do. Sometimes they might ask you just how much money have they actually made, or how much interest did they get. So if they do ask you that at the end, well, you can just add on a little bit here. So you do it the same question, but you know that they've ended up with 530 euros and 50 cents at the end of the 3 years. You know they started off with 500 euros, so we'll just find the difference between those two numbers. So 530.50 take away 500 gives us 30 euros and 50 cents that person has made over their 3 years. So this is just the interest. And that method will work for either a loan or for an investment.